Put it in it. Yeah. All right. Hi. Hi. Take your time. This is yours. Come here. You done?
I promised the lady I wouldn't eat it in here, so I shall not.
Did she say? All right.
She said
She
no
said no outside food or drink.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, not at all. I mean, it's understandable for a bar.
I hate that. I gotta eat when in a place. You know, I gotta eat sitting down. So I don't know. Fuck that. Hi, welcome to another episode of People's Mic. I am Jimmy Peoples.
What's up,
Welcome, Mr. Gabe. Now come here. Gabriel Marshall. No, this is yours right here.
Okay.
Gabriel Marshall and Lynette Palladino.
Yes.
Nice. How are you?
Good, how are
Your
you?
hair looks amazing.
Thank you.
All right. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks for
Good.
having
I'm sorry
me.
you didn't get to eat your food.
Oh, you're fine. I'm actually thinking now. I'm sorry
What is that,
about my
McDonald's?
breath. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I know. Here I am walking into Jimmy's.
No.
Jimmy's a personal
I don't
trainer
judge.
who's like, who puts that garbage in
Yeah,
their
what
body?
you got? What you got over there?
That's more of what I was thinking when she like, we can't allow McDonald's. It's terrible for you. Protecting your health. But you can have alcohol. That's
Yeah, you can drink alcohol. That's fine.
But it was less than $4 and mad quick. So.
But you got to eat that quick because it doesn't. When it gets cold, it's gonna be shit.
It'll be fine.
I say eat your food during. What is she gonna do? Shut us? All right.
Yeah, she's not back here. Eat that.
You know this can't. They like watching what we doing back here. There's cameras all over. Like,
There's cameras all over regardless.
yeah. Oh, that's weird.
Just kidding.
Hi.
Hey, what?
Huh? Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's do origin. Both comedians, right? Tell me, how'd you get into comedy?
Oh gosh, it's actually kind of a weird story. My dad died, and they're like, you know,
Which is,
yeah.
That was
I gotta get on
hilarious.
stage. That was the best.
Yeah. So like in the 9 months from diagnosis, he was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma up until his death was just like all consuming. And then once he passed, there was this huge void, and I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. And I'm not a couch person. Like it's not for me, and it's great if that's what helps you, but it doesn't work for me. So I just wanted a creative outlet, and somehow I stumbled upon comedy. But I've always been a performer. I was president of my university choir. I did the vagina monologues in college, all that stupid shit. And so once you join the military, much less creativity going on.
Wow.
And it was just, it was fun. It was great, and kind of never stopped after that.
Damn. And what was your dad passed, and where'd you come from?
I'm from Jersey.
From Jersey. So where'd you start at? What shows?
Oh gosh, I took a comedy class through the
Started with the
Manhattan
class.
Comedy School. Manhattan School of Comedy. Corey Kahaney was the teacher.
Is that Broadway?
No, it's Gotham.
Gotham.
And then it's run by Andy Engel.
Yeah.
Who's hilarious because I've met him like, I don't know, a dozen times, and it's always like, hi, I'm Lynette. Hi, I'm Lynette. Hi. Like that guy
remember.
from 50 First
Yeah.
Dates.
That's,
Yeah.
and then that led you to getting on stage.
Mm-hmm. That was 3 years ago now. I've been doing comedy.
Nice.
My dad also died.
Hey!
That's not what I did comedy. I just wanted to.
What's going on?
No, it's a weird question. Whenever someone asks me like how I started comedy, like I guess they're referring to stand up, but
Yeah.
I don't like refer. I don't think stand up is separate than like just doing comedy. Like I think a lot of people who've done or do comedy do it because they've been telling jokes their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I really started from the time I was little
Not at all.
using. No, you didn't? No. Not me, man. I started when I was a kid using humor to kind of like just, I don't know, get through life, you know? I was also the baby of the family. I had all older sisters, so like they would always like make me entertain them.
Yeah.
You know, so I got used to being funny, and then I would be like, the kid who would throw out jokes in class, and like, I did like theater and improv in high school, and I did forensics where we did sketch, and I really enjoyed that stuff. But then, like she said, I needed to pay for college for one, and I always wanted to join the Army. So I ended up, going to ROTC, and like I kind of just stopped doing any of the.
Where'd you do
performance art.
ROTC?
Kansas State University.
Oh, you're from Kansas. I did it at Fordham.
Kansas.
Yeah.
Did you?
Oh, okay.
Dope.
Yeah. So Like as she said, when you get to that, it kind of takes over your life, because you're preparing for something really serious. It's going to be a hard job, and you're also going to school at the same time. And then you get into the Army, and it's a lot of work. But I would say, and you agree, like especially when you're deployed, I mean, it's all about humor to get through it. You know what I mean? Because you're going through these tough times, and like everybody is always cracking jokes. Like there is some hilarious people in the military.
And there are a lot of people with too much free time. So the things that you find like posted on fridges and the pictures that people will take of you when you're not looking, and then it becomes like it was like the meme before memes. You're just scattered all over the...
and it's not a sensitive place either, like, so you can kind of like get away with talking about everything.
People still use retard regularly in the Army.
Absolutely.
Like, that is not the R word in the Army.
No, we still use it.
That's like mild. Like, and I was in like a combat unit, so at the time, like, it was pretty much exclusively male. So like it was really like my bosses used to draw dicks on my stuff. Like that's how, and these are dudes with like master's degrees and like colonels and shit. You know what I mean? Like, so I mean, the Army's a funny place, and then we would do these like events, these social events, where you'd have to get up and tell a story, and you'd basically make fun of somebody for something they did, and you'd exaggerate it, to a certain extent, but it'd be based on a true story. Doing a set. Right, just like doing a set. And if your story was picked, whoever you made fun of, they had to like basically carry around this 100-pound shell to every field problem, which was like a pain in the ass. So I started doing these stories at all these social events, and anytime I would do a story, the person I would nominate would lose because my story would be good. I was like, I need to get back into this. So my last year, after 5 years in the Army and 2 deployments, I was getting out. My last year, I started doing open mics in Austin, Texas. This was back in 2012, 2013, sometime around there. And then started doing open mics while I was getting out. Started in Austin, then moved to Chicago, and then I've been here for about 4 years.
4 years. That's dope. That's both Army, right?
Yeah, I'm still Army. I'm still in. As you know, I just got back from deployment number 3. But you get burnt out. 2 and 5 years is a long time. I did, I've been in 11 years, but my first 2 were while I was still in college. So if I just look at from last deployment to most recent, that's a 7-year span where I've done 3 deployments. I've spent 36 months away from home. It's a shit ton of time.
Holy cow. And do you guys, stupid question, do you get to perform over?
I actually did on this last tour. I did because I was already a comic at that point, and Armed Forces Entertainment, which a lot of people confuse for like the USO tours, they were coming through my camp. I was in Camp Taji, Iraq, and being the intel officer that I am, I stalked all of the comics on the lineup. Every single one of them I had mutual friends with, because of course, we all can friend each other like we know each other. And I went to the first show. The first night I introduced myself. The second night they were like, hey, you want to do 6 minutes? I was like, of course I do. And then I kind of feared for my life because as liberal as the Army is with things that you can say, they're still very sensitive, especially as an officer, of anything that you might do that may be considered behavior unbecoming. So I was super nervous that like I was going to do this set for 6 minutes, and then the next day I was going to be like a private or kicked out of the Army or in the GO's office, and my career would be over. I mean, I get to come home soon, but not really not under the right circumstances. I had a great set. It was a lot of fun. It was Keith Harmison, Stephen Briggs, Lou Rock. I can never remember his name, but he was in Cool Runnings, and Sean Kent. Those were the other comedians.
That's dope.
Yeah, it was. Awesome. It was once in. I think I did 3 shows in the 9 months that I was overseas.
Well, damn. You performed?
So, not really. Like I said, like I was in like a combat unit, so like we didn't really get to do too much like USO stuff. No one actually, like none of the USO stuff came to my base, but it was more of like a daily thing, just like everybody like talking shit like all day people just talking shit, especially on mission. Like you're just rolling around, like you'd be like riding up and down the highway, right? Like, or you'll be going out to some like city or rural area, to do a patrol or to check in with somebody, like a like a Mukhtar or something. But that whole drive, like that might
explain to them what a Mukhtar is.
A Mukhtar is basically he's one of the tribal leaders, right? So like in Iraq, you have a government but people are still more ran off of their tribes, like because obviously in the Middle East everything was just kind of bullshit set up, and they never really took into consideration how these people actually lived and treated each other in relation to their tribal affiliations. So a Mukhtar is somebody that essentially has a position of authority within the tribe. He's not the sheikh though. Like Mukhtar more
like a mayor,
kind of
Deputy mayor.
deputy mayor, yeah. And the sheikh is like the precise like tribal leader, right, of whatever tribe you are, Jabori or whatever. Anyway, she would actually be able to explain this more than me because she's in intelligence, and their job is to like tell us what the fuck we're doing when we go out there and talk to these people. Because the rest of we're just like grunts, like going out there like, oh yeah. So, but anyway, so like yeah, you know what I mean? Like the army expects you to do shit that you have no idea how to do. Like I trained to like how to blow shit up and like shoot people, and then they're like, you get there and they're like, all right, so we need you to go make friends and like figure out what they need, and like I'm like, wait, what? Like, you know what I mean? So like, we end up doing humanitarian stuff, but all this stuff you're not used to.
I'm sorry, did I branch civil affairs? I thought I was just like
right.
field artillery.
right. I thought I was just gonna blow stuff up. No, you have to solve their cultural problems. Wait, all right, but yeah, so you end up just like talking shit like the whole time you're on the way out there, like over the radio, like everything you see, like you just make fun of everything. And the Joes themselves are hilarious. Like I don't even think I was like the funniest one. Like I would just listen half the time because everybody's so fucking funny over there. You know, so I don't know. There's nothing else to really keep you like preoccupied.
Just collect it all. Yeah.
There's a lot of bullshit though. Just like there's a lot of like you're gay and
You're such a faggot. Stop being a pussy.
Immature bro
shit. Yeah, it really immature like dude over the radio shit. Like I bet you like that. Yeah, just like high school locker room talk.
What's so you guys go overseas and you come back and you find the country the way it is now with how is it difficult to serve under this guy?
Yes. I mean, I'm really, that's the commander-in-chief, so I'm not, we're not really at liberty to criticize. We can form opinions and we can disagree. Those are all acceptable, but criticisms aren't. It's, from my perspective, I'm super Catholic, and I really do believe in that whole like treat your neighbor as you would want to be treated crap, and Christian ideals. So for me, what's most painful about this administration is the lack of empathy and compassion for pretty much everybody. And I had actually done a podcast before I left Kuwait. There was another stand-up comic out there, and I had run in the Gay Pride 5K, and Don't Ask, Don't Tell was only just recently repealed in 2011, and so we took the military a long time to kind of catch up with the rest of society and keep pace on things like that. So the entire year I was deployed, we were receiving transgender sensitivity training. We were all for it. There was talks about how you're supposed to go about it if you have soldiers in your unit. There was like a year-long requirement of mental health counseling in the process, and then you would go into DEERS, which is like our HR database, and then change that person's gender from whatever it was, and then almost seemingly without reason, it was announced that we were going to reverse pivot on that, and that to me was so heartbreaking, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to recruit the best people for the best jobs. You know what I mean? Absolutely. You don't want to have to scrape the bottom of the barrel. So if you have a flight surgeon who's willing to serve in the Army for pennies, on the dollar to what he would be able to get elsewhere, but just happens to be transgender, now you've disqualified a perfectly capable person who wants to serve their nation, who wants to put their life at risk for reasons that we should be able to accommodate, in my opinion. That's my personal opinion. So yes, it's a little bit frustrating currently serving, just because there's a lot of ambiguity, and there's a lot of personal attacks that have huge ripple effects. Yeah. Like if I could give another example, when the travel ban was announced, all of our mail that goes through Iraq went through Baghdad International Airport, and it's cleared by Iraqi customs before we get it. So then all of a sudden our mail was delayed after the travel ban was allowed. And don't get me wrong, Iraqis take their sweet ass time with things to begin with. Like, everything is inshallah. It's in God's hands. Like, when it happens, it happens. You know, it wasn't God's plan for it to happen. It's shit like that. So now, like, things are extra delayed. Pallets of mail were being left out in the rain. It does rain in Iraq, and being completely destroyed. So, like, you would never see those effects back here in the States. You probably wouldn't even hear about them. Like, I can't even tell you how many people don't know that we're still in Iraq. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or that we left for 5 years and went back. Yeah. So it's crazy. It's stuff like that you think, oh my gosh, that was such a small thing to happen. What if, like, something bigger happened? Like, I'm supposed to get 4 years of dwell time after this last deployment. Now I'm like, ooh, North Korea.
Yeah.
That sounds like 4 years less dwell time.
Man, how much time do you got for this?
Yeah.
I would say, so I'm no longer active duty or an active duty. However, technically as an officer, you always hold your commission that's taken away by Congress, so I'm still technically an officer of the military. But I have the freedom to express my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
She's still in, so she has some rules. When I was in, I never looked at it as if I was serving a president, because you're not really. You're serving the people of the United States and upholding the Constitution. So I had disagreements with Bush. I had disagreements with Obama. I have disagreements with Trump. I never thought we should have been in Iraq, and I have a whole political thing I can go in on that. But I guess I'll go to the specific question. Would I have trouble if I was active with Trump? And I might have trouble now anyways, because he signed an executive order, I think last week, which essentially says he can recall any military personnel that he wants in need. Yeah. Which is, executive orders are essentially the president's power to enforce regulations to any agency which he has direct control over, which the military is one of them. He signed that shit, and I was like, nah, man. Like, I ain't fucking doing it. I'm like, my back, my knees, like, for a couple reasons. One, I did 2 deployments in a hot place. I'm not trying to go to North Korea.
Yeah.
All right, it's fucking cold. Like, I don't want that shit. And I just don't see, like, all the wars. I'm honestly, for a veteran, like, I don't see the point of war in general anymore. Like, having reflected upon it and smoked a lot of weed over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I just, like, what the fuck are we still, like, fighting for? Like what do we do, like, in North Korea? What do we need? Like, their fucking rice? Like, why are we, like, trying to go there? Like, there's no need for war anymore. We live in a world where we have all the resources we need to feed everybody if we wanted to. We could clothe everybody. We could house everybody.
There's better ways to solve problems.
There's better ways to solve problems. And if there was a soldier from Rome that we brought back to life and put him here right now, and we were to ask him, like, what did you die for? Like, what would his answer be? You know what I mean? For the Roman Empire that no longer exists, for ideals, for ideology, perhaps for ideology, but we don't need to kill people for ideology. We can discuss things. And in an event that you do to get attacked, I guess, at some point you would have to defend yourself. But I just don't see, like, the wars that they're trying to get us into these days. It's just like, what the fuck is the point, man? Like, so no, I wouldn't want to serve under Trump, because I think he's trying to get us into some conflict, which will serve no real purpose. If we go to war with North Korea, the estimates are 2 million casualties in the first month alone, from estimates that I've heard from people that still in the military that have, like, significant amounts of intel. Like, and that's just from conventional weapons, from all the weapons that North Korea has trained on South Korea right now. And we're not talking about nuclear weapons. So this is really scary. If we do get into a conflict like this isn't going to be some small conflict. This is going to be millions of lives we're talking about. And this guy's fucking around with that shit because he's got an ego problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I honestly think that it doesn't affect him or the people that he cares about. You know what I mean? The people in power, people with money and they have protection, and it's not really their families that are going to suffer. It's going to be, people like me and her and her family and the people that, care about their country but aren't necessarily in the position of economic or political power to make the decisions as to what we do.
No, I think that's a great point. It really is. There's a great article out there that I would encourage you all to read. It's about the fatigue that we face after going on multiple deployments. So there's a really erroneous fact or statistic out there that says only 1% of the U.S. population has served. Actually, no. There's about 7% of the U.S. population are considered, they have veteran status. there is less than 1% currently serving. Like the Army is the biggest military service of, the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard. And in the Army, we stand at less than 400,000. So when you combine all of them, it's about 1 million folks in uniform on active duty. But that doesn't include the reservists, the National Guardsmen. We all have veteran status. That's around 7%. So for a population of 330 million in the United States, it's not unsurprising to me that I come across people all the time who have never met somebody that has served. And when you have the same people going over and over again, it changes the diversity and the landscape of your uniformed services. You're going to attract people of equal mindset, and that's not really what you want. You want to attract the best and the brightest, and you want to be able to pull that from the entire population so that you have just the same population in a smaller percentage serving in your military. And it frustrates me to no end that people will accuse any sort of congressman or senator who want to rein in the defense budget as not being pro-troop, against the service members. They're so unrelated. Like, just saying, hey, can we not invade this country for a second does not mean you don't support the troops. And FYI, that defense budget, I see so little of that. My base salary after 11 years in the uniform is $20,000 less than what I make for the New York City Department of Education. I got differential pay while serving. Right, it's unbelievable. The difference is that, thank God, while you're deployed, you get extra allowances that make it a decent year. You get your basic allowance for housing, you get family separation pay, you get hostile fire pay, you get hazardous duty pay. But those last three, those are $500 a month. Yeah, so I go to Iraq, I live in a tin can, I eat the same fucking shit every day, I carry an M4 all over creation with me for an extra $500 a month. And it's tax-free, which is one of the nicer incentives. But it's all that money that we spend on R&D, on new uniforms, on new vehicles, that barely really changed the quality of life for a soldier deployed. We don't need to spend that. Nobody else has that shit. We end up selling it to other countries for less than 5% of what we pay for it to build it, including research and development. So it's just that would be my thing. Remember, election day is election day is in 2 weeks. If you want to be a responsible citizen, please stay informed. Call your congressman and say we don't need a defense budget that's a bajillion times more than every other NATO member combined.
Okay.
So, believe me, I hear you guys, and I think it's so refreshing to hear the opinions of someone that's been there. As an American citizen, obviously I grew up, I just missed getting drafted for the Vietnam War. And, we were told back then that war was to stem the flow of communism, which was just fucking total bullshit, Why are we in Afghanistan? Why are we in Iraq? And that's what a lot of people here would want to know. And I can just answer that, and then you can answer, is that we're told that it's to stop the terrorism from spreading, to give them a place to train so they can attack us here.
I mean, I'm a little less pessimistic about it than I think Gabe is. I will say that Afghanistan is a complete waste. We learned nothing from the Russians. They were there for decades before we were and accomplished nothing. Afghanistan is mountainous, it's rural, they have very few economic opportunities. 40% of the population lives off of the opium growth there, the poppy seeds, whatever they can harvest from there. It's just ass backwards. It's a complete counterculture to even other Middle Eastern countries. It doesn't make sense. So unless the United States is going to do a complete and full occupy that country for the next 50 years, you are never going to change the political landscape in Afghanistan. And you need 50 years because you need at least 2 generations to go by so that the first one only half wants to kill you and the second one's like, you know what, they're all right. And with Iraq, it's we destroyed it. We absolutely destroyed it. We went in under 1,000 different reasons, from WMDs to Saddam Hussein's a terrible person to whatever, pick one. And then by 2006, 2007, that entire country was in a civil war. Millions of Iraqis died, unrelated to any sort of U.S. involvement, just slaughtering each other. And then we leave and we create this huge power vacuum where you don't have a legitimate government in place, and then ISIS took over within 18 months. It's unbelievable that you can take over a country within 18 months. And we're not talking like, they didn't have huge weapons or anything. They had, AK-47s, they had IEDs. Don't get me wrong, ISIS as a threat is the most complex enemy I've ever studied. They're unbelievably resilient and adaptive and super fucking creative. They did not conquer a single piece of territory without a strategic plan. When they went into to slaughter the Yazidis, they slaughtered all the men, took the women and children, and sent them off to like sexual slavery or forced labor slavery. And I don't mean like sexual slavery, like we're gonna take these women and like cattle call them. No, they created magazines with headshots and a serial number, and when you bought that woman, you got a license for her. And she wasn't free until she escaped or you gave her your license back. Which did happen in some cases because those people were going to go off to be like suicide bombers. But it was just, it's chaotic. I don't understand why we're there. I know it's to stem the flow of terrorism is what we say. It's just, at some point, we have to stop nation building. I don't mind advise and assist missions, like what happened in Nigeria. That was an advise and assist mission. That's to help that host nation combat terrorism on its own. But Afghanistan's a waste, and we destroyed Iraq.
I would say that I agree with pretty much everything she just said. I've been saying the exact same things myself since I was in Iraq. And when we were getting out, I was saying, that same thing. It would take us 5,200 years because you'd have to literally raise the children to be little Americans. We'd have to colonize Afghanistan. We'd have to colonize Iraq to make them like us because they're so culturally different. Getting to the point of all the way to the point of ISIS being like this extreme thing, right, where they're taking these women and they're selling them, but that's not even so far off from the normal culture in Iraq. Like, I've seen women bought and sold in Iraq. That's how different it is mentally. So we're not, and the idea that we're there to prevent terrorism, we're there because we want influence in the world, period. America wants to influence the world. We want to have power. We want to have troops stationed around the world because we want to be the ones in charge. For some reason, we feel like that maintains our position at the top of the hierarchy. That helps us maintain our position economically by having troops stationed across the world. It's influence. It has nothing to do with the well-being of people, and it should, unfortunately. Yeah, I think the troops and the military commanders do try to have a good outcome, but the people that are making the decisions, again, aren't doing it for those purposes. And to change the Middle East is not going to happen from us. The Middle East is going to have to change itself. It's got to grow up. You know what I mean? The extremism you see across the Middle East isn't going to be changed from some outside influence coming in like, you guys need to change the way you do things. You need to act more like us. You need to have our cultural norms. You need to have our values. It's going to have to come from the people within. The one good thing I would say about ISIS is that I think it's thrown that in the face of its own people. Like, hey, look, these are the real problems that we have to deal with now. Yeah. And I'm glad that we didn't go in boots on the ground completely, although we recently did do a lot more than what we expected to do.
I think when I left, it was 5,000 were in Iraq. 5,000 uniformed service members. I love this because 5,000 uniformed service members doesn't sound like a lot until you find out that we have almost double the number in contracted folks there. So whatever the Army is not doing in uniform, they are paying somebody else double what I would get paid to do it via a government contract. It's crazy.
And explain the government contract for...
Government contract, it's we go in so thin that we very rarely have folks, in the military, literally every fucking job has a military occupational specialty, from the people who do your laundry, to the cooks, to the IT. Every single one of those has a trained uniformed service member. Well, they'll get out after their 4 years of whatever obligation, and then they go and work for a contractor because they can make way more money, and then we contract out all of those services. So IT support is contracted out. Your dining facility is completely contracted out. My laundry was done by a local national that would get, wanded on to post, and they do my laundry, and that would be it. It's literally everything that was moving on the ground in Iraq was moving by a contractor. We had no U.S. convoys moving on the ground, and that was dual purpose.
Who was the contractor?
Everybody. I mean,
Halliburton mostly.
Yeah. I mean, but it's like for this iteration of Iraq, there was a purpose behind that, and the goal was to have it very much Iraqi driven. But it's Iraqi driven to the extent that they're the ones shedding blood for it, but we were the ones feeding them, clothing them, supplying them, moving their logistics. We were providing air support, artillery support. All of that was mostly done by Americans.
I try to pull this. This is not a political podcast, so
Let's talk about something else.
so I'm gonna when you guys come back, do you ever look as you're traveling in the street and just see some of the people and be like, I'm fighting for this piece of shit? And I'm putting my life on the line, like.
Yes. Of course. I mean, honestly, that doesn't even bother me as much. I think what bothers me the most is the uninformed citizen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't talk shit if you didn't vote. That's number one.
Because most people have no idea what's going on anywhere else. We make up these ideas, and that's kind of what this is for.
I never felt like I was fighting for. I never felt like in this war I was fighting for y'all. No offense. Like, I didn't think that what I was doing was making you more safe. I really didn't. I was fighting for the person next to me who was there by obligation of the military or of the government. I was there for my brother in arms, for the soldiers. I was there to be the best officer I could be, so that the least amount of my soldiers had to die for a stupid fucking war. You know what I mean? So I was there for them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You could say, well, no one joined the military. If no one joined the military, they just made people go. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Subscribe. So somebody has to go. Even if you don't believe in it. So I was there for them, and I don't feel like that necessarily made y'all any safer. In fact, we created ISIS. We got rid of Saddam, we created this huge power vacuum, like she said. You're welcome. So, like, it's also another thing when people say thank you for your service. I think that's just like, you just feel like you have to say that. Like, I don't know if anybody, like, some people believe it, but I'm just like, what does that even, like, I don't even know how to respond to it. So I never, like, come back and look at people and be like, oh, I can't believe I fought for this. I never, like, thought, like, oh, I was fighting for you specifically. Like, I was fighting for, the person, like, the soldier. That's who I was fighting for.
Absolutely.
Yes, so what, this is for both of you, what positive things do you think that you've taken away from your military service, that you've gained from it?
Oh, tons. I'm talking about the political things in a sense that I don't like them, but the military.
As a person, what you take away
but personally, the military is the greatest experience of my life because first of all, it's the most diverse organization I've ever been a part of. You have people from not only all over the country, you have people from all over the world who join our military. You have every race, you have every religion, and everybody's like put into a team and they have to work together. Like, you'll find a country boy from Kentucky being best friends from, a kid who was in a gang in Oakland, you know what I mean? And they become best friends in the military. So it's an environment unlike any other in terms of like learning how to deal with different types of people and forming a team. And learning that you can overcome any situation, and no matter what task you're given, with a team that's willing to work on it, you can achieve it. And just pushing yourself beyond your mental and physical limits, what you think is your mental and physical limits. The Army consistently challenged me and consistently made me prove to myself that I could do things that I didn't necessarily know I could do. So that teamwork aspect and that just that mentality of I can overcome anything was huge. And the camaraderie, the brotherhood that you develop is amazing. And we do some really cool shit. We might not have agreed with what we were doing, but we work as a team, and you got military intelligence, you have transpo, you have logistics. The military runs everything itself. And you got young people. Like I was 21, 22, and I was responsible for meeting sheikhs, meeting muhtars, meeting village leaders, setting up road building projects, setting up school building projects. You know, and I'm doing this at a young age with the help of other people who are young, who are like making all this happen. It's amazing. Yeah.
No, I completely agree that the Army has given me some of the best experiences of my life. On every tour, I've met people that will always be family, and I've learned a tremendous amount of stuff that I never would have learned otherwise. I never would have been exposed to otherwise. Just the experiences. It's been unbelievably rewarding, and at the same time, it is unbelievably frustrating because we do end up in these places, and I understand Gabe's sentiment in that you don't feel like you're defending America. You feel like you're defending America's interests. I will say that with this last tour in ISIS, just the sheer horror of what ISIS was able to commit, any opportunity to stem that flow, I was all over. Like, that was fine by me. I was happy to be there because it meant that we were participating in the effort to eliminate ISIS as a threat. And they really are the most brutal enemy that I've ever studied. That I've studied. People like to say, well, what about Pol Pot? I'm like, look, motherfucker. I'm so glad you know your history, but right now I'm in Camp Taji, Iraq because of ISIS, not Pol Pot. Like, and I would still argue that ISIS is still the most horrific.
When you were deployed, what did you miss most?
Food.
Pussy.
You couldn't get it there.
Man, I was a bunch of dudes, man. It was like fucking prison, man. It was showering with the same guys, nothing to do but work out. Like,
like prison.
so much like prison.
What's your favorite food besides the obvious?
Oh, I know. I mean, I love to eat. But it's true. Honestly, people love to send care packages, but they send you like garbage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, just send me some fucking brownies that you actually made. Saran wrap the shit out of that. I promise it will get to me in time to be edible, and I will destroy it. Like, that's all I wanted. Yeah, but no, he's right. Like, at least you can masturbate.
Yeah.
You couldn't?
No, how many times am I supposed to pretend I'm brushing my fucking teeth? Like, do you know how much that sound carries?
Gotta get the two-finger method down.
I don't do self-contact, right? There's got to be something between.
No, this is a real problem. See, this is something we don't talk about. It's like, you know, not getting laid for a year. That's fucked up. You know,
That's sacrifice.
That's sacrifice.
Oh my! I didn't have a roommate for like the last 3 months of my tour. It was like living at the Taj Mahal when you don't have a roommate. To not have to because you're never fucking alone. You are never alone.
There's no space. There's no
and that,
private. I don't know. Private.
And you've heard my bit on this though. Like, that's why I said, like, my last year, and I have a bit on this. Like, last year I was in the military. Don't ask, don't tell was repealed, which was the policy that kept open the gay people out of the military. And it's like, it was a policy I never understood because, like, the Army was legit, like, the gayest organization I was ever a part of. Like, the only thing gayer than the Army is the Navy. Like, that is it. Because, like she said, like, you're constantly with somebody else, and for me, like, somebody of the same sex. And, like, it get like in training, you'll get cold, and, like, you'll have to, like, share a sleeping bag with another dude. And it's like, I mean, you don't care that his dick's hard, you're just happy that shit's hot. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, so yeah.
What are you watching now? What's on your TV?
What do I watch now? Pass. I don't.
What do I watch on TV?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Different things. I guess I like Game of Thrones when it's on.
Oh, yeah.
I love South Park. I haven't watched it recently. I love Rick and Morty now. Rick and Morty is pretty dope.
I tried one episode. I couldn't get into it.
I just don't have time for too much TV though. I really don't watch. Like, if I maybe watch like 2 hours of TV. Well, take it back. I watch football. not gonna lie.
Are you
Football
watching
season's
football? You're
back.
not boycotting?
Yeah.
You're not
I have
boycotting?
to
Are you
watch that, but
Chiefs
I kneel while I'm watching the game.
All right, this is over.
That's hilarious.
But no, I watch
Does that mean you're a
football.
Chiefs fan? If you're from, are you from Kansas?
Oh man, this is not gonna be good. If I'm a Cowboys fan.
Oh,
All right,
Ah, you can all leave.
Yeah.
I'm a Giants fan.
Yeah, there we go.
Actually, I did 2 shows in Philly this weekend. I was like, oh, so you guys are all Philly fans? They're like, fuck yeah, 6-1. I'm like,
Phillies
oh,
are the worst.
shut
Phillies,
They are.
Holy
I'm
shit.
like, yeah, you guys can be proud, but maybe stop throwing batteries during
Yeah,
games. Like,
yeah. I went to one Phillies game by accident, Giants game in Philly, wearing a Tiki Barber jersey.
oh my god, I'm amazed you're alive.
I didn't know.
Kind of look like Tiki Barber.
Yeah, and that was worse. They thought I was him, and they were drunk. And I was like, "This is a bad idea. I could have made better."
And that's not even
decisions."
just because you're both black.
Yeah,
It's just like
yeah,
you really do look
yeah.
like
Yeah, you
him.
do look
Yeah.
like Tiki Barber.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Wait, you're black?
Yeah, shut up.
Oh god,
It was worse.
you've
I
been
was like,
smoking way
"Oh."
too much pot.
And I took a kid with me. I took one of my godsons. He was wearing flip flops, and I don't know why. The fucking flip flops kept falling off, and I'm trying to walk to the car, and he's stopping every 2 minutes, and everybody's like, "Yeah." I was like, "We gotta get out of here." I'm watching The Walking Dead right now. Anybody? This is our Walking Dead portion of the.
Man, it's just got out of control, man. I watched like the first couple of seasons, and then I was like, man, I just feel like they should be deteriorated more. You know, like at what point do they stop? Like, eventually there's gonna be mush. How these fucking zombies still like walking around with like no legs after like 7
It's supposed to be
years?
the people now who are getting bit, but I don't know. It's not.
I almost refuse to watch it because I know everything from Facebook. Like people just spoil the shit
I
out
don't
of
watch
that
Facebook
show.
the night before.
No, even like I know who's dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I shouldn't know for a show I don't watch. But I do. I love Game of Thrones. I'm
Game of Thrones,
obsessed
yeah.
with that.
I'm
Yeah.
upset with that.
I've been watching. I watched F is for Family, Bill Burr's cartoon
I didn't
on
watch the new
on
season.
Netflix. That was fun.
I watched the first season. First season was good. And Ozark.
Ozark.
Ozark
Yeah,
was dope.
show.
Ozark's probably one of
Ozark?
mine.
What's
Yeah.
Ozark?
I
Ozark.
finished Downton Abbey while I was
I couldn't
so
get way too excited about that. You said Downtown Abbey?
No, Ozark.
Oh, Ozark.
What's
yeah.
Ozark? What's it?
You gotta watch it. Don't even tell.
Really?
Bro, just watch it. It's a good show. It's like Breaking Bad times two.
Yeah,
It's Breaking Bad times two.
Yeah, it's
bro.
better than
Just
Breaking.
watch
It's
it.
about a money launderer for the
you
Mexican
messed it up.
cartel.
That's like the whole entire.
That's not the whole
Yes,
thing.
it is.
Look,
Oh my
was it
God.
like Breaking Bad?
Yeah, it's better.
It's
Yeah,
better
yeah,
than
it's-
Breaking
it's
Bad? I don't
way
know. Breaking
better
Bad was amazing.
Than Breaking Bad.
That was
It's
so
dope.
good.
Did y'all watch that Pablo Escobar shit?
Yeah. Narcos.
Narcos. That
I can't
was
get into the
fucking
next.
good as hell.
The new season is too many subtitles.
Ah.
No, I'm sorry. I was like, I can't do this much reading. God damn. Yeah, at least. Yeah, I want to read. And I want to watch a show. I want to eat my food. I was like, I can't pay attention to both. I can't eat and read. I mean, the good stuff is happening, but I was like, I don't know what the hell. Really? Can you eat and read?
Can I eat and read?
Yeah.
I think most people have that ability, Jimmy, actually.
Sounds stupid. Like, can you eat and read too? You good at reading and eating? I'm gonna play this back and edit all of this shit out.
You guys come outside when you put food in your mouth?
Now, yeah, I was like, I can't. No, I don't want to do it.
Someone
I
was
don't,
concerned. I'm like, would you say you're a good trainer? Like,
yeah, I'm amazing.
so you can
Just
read
don't
that
eat
shit.
and read. Yeah, no, I don't read anything. I just tell people to count from 1 to 10.
I'll tell you one thing.
That's my job.
One thing I can't watch anymore is I can't watch the fucking news anymore. Can y'all watch the news? I can't. Every time
Don't
I turn it
watch it,
on,
just
I'm
read
just
it.
like, what the fuck are they just talking shit? There's even like on some. I got turned on to everyone. I'll do CNN, MSNBC, and Fox. There's a show on Fox prime time. They have like actual fucking laugh track for the news. Like that's where our society's gotten, is that people need a fucking laugh track, and like
I do when I'm in the gym. I turn to Fox once in a while to see what white people are talking about. You turn it on, I was like,
To see what they're upset
yeah,
about.
we'll say.
Kaepernick.
It's so funny. I was like, really? And then, but they're so confident about it. It's like, is this true? I mean, I could see why people,
That makes me so sad.
believe in it. But
Just read the news, don't
Yeah.
watch it.
and then there's Facebook news, and then I'm like, my favorite.
Yeah, I don't know. What's the big story today? It's Kevin Spacey's
Kevin
a pedophile.
Spacey's a pedophile, but
then-
he's gay.
But does that make you less of a pedophile? I don't get.
He likes boys. Like, well, I don't know. It's so
Like,
hard
I'm
about
Catholic,
this.
but I'll admit that's like most priest problems.
Yeah.
I know.
That's his out. I don't know.
I didn't hear the story. Why is he all of a sudden a pedophile?
Why is he a pedophile?
Like, how did it come out that he was a
I don't know
pedophile?
why he's a
It's
pedophile.
something that happened way back.
On like the news, like during an interview?
Somebody called him about extorting him. That's why he's saying it right now.
He was
That's
26
why.
and he hit on a
tweeted an apology.
14-year-old.
Really?
But for real, he kind of looks like a pedophile.
Wait, for something that happened like 30 years
He
ago,
does
they're
look-
calling about?
Anybody after they're
God.
accused
Yeah.
Oh,
looks
yeah,
like
yeah.
a pedophile.
Definitely.
Like, I could see it. His eyes a little
I mean, I don't have
Slit
good.
eyes.
slanted eyes.
Slid it up.
Yeah. Until they get like Peter Wong's a pedophile, you'll never look at him the same.
Middle-aged white guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of figured he was gay. I didn't understand the pedophile thing this morning. Oh well.
Yeah. His character in House of Cards is gay.
I heard he got the whole Meacham thing written in himself. He was like, I want
I
to
need
kiss
this
this
part.
dude.
He's
Like,
like,
let's just
dude.
make me kind of gay. Just make like gay. I'm not coming back.
It's in my contract. Jesus Christ. You guys got any questions? Any more? I hate you all.
They just want to do their 5 minutes and get the fuck out
Yo,
of here.
dude, yeah, that's that face,
Are
right?
you illiterate when eating?
Am I illiterate when
When
eating?
eating.
No, I just don't want to read while I eat. You want to ask one of those? Those are my.
What's, I love this one. What sound or noise do you love?
Good.
What sound
Yeah.
or noise do I love? Oh man, laughter.
Yeah.
Nice.
Audience is eating out of my hands. What's your favorite curse word? Cunt.
Why is Ozark better than Breaking Bad? Is the acting better?
It's shot way better than Breaking Bad. It's like cinematic, and on top of the two, unless he doesn't spoil it.
Breaking Bad was 10 years ago. It better have fucking advanced by now.
It is, but like
Yeah.
when you watch it, it's a lot of surprises didn't expect. It was very smart.
Okay.
It's more realistic.
Ask it. Which one?
Like, as far as the drug stuff.
All right, Gabe. On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
I don't think I can do it on a scale of 1 to 10, but I can say that I'm weird enough that people don't always understand me, but not so weird that I'm gonna come into like any Kevin Spacey problems. You know what I mean? So
What's the weirdest thing you think you've done?
the weirdest thing I've done. It's hard. Weirdest thing I've done. Give me a second. You go ahead. I'll think of
What's
something.
the weirdest thing I've done? Oh, I married my dad's boss. I mean, it's not weird to me. Like, I love him. It's just weird to everybody else. Everybody else.
Yeah. That's fucked up. How'd your dad feel about that? How'd he feel?
He was not a fan, but he died 10 months later. So.
Oh, yeah.
Dodge that bullet.
Yeah. I sometimes tape my first dates and then listen to them back. Everybody laughs at that. The first day, I'll just sometimes I'll tell her, sometimes I don't. But
Gabe,
That's insane.
I take it back. I'm fucking normal. I'm not talking weird shit.
I would say unless you kept somebody in your basement, you're
My family's super weird. I don't know. Like I got weird ass family. Can I go there? Like, no man, because they're just gross. My family, I got fucking weird uncles, and my mom was religious. You know this. My name's Gabriel, which is the name of an angel.
Uh-huh.
My sister's names are Precious, Promise, Miracle, and Blessing. Like, that's not fucking.
That's
good.
real.
That's like their real
That's
fucking
real.
names.
I thought that was a
That's
bit.
mad white
I
trash.
used to like speak in tongues and shit, and like try to like heal with like faith healing. You know what I mean? Like, well, basically, like, if you get sick, like you pray over somebody, and then they get worse.
Snakes? Snakes out?
We do the snake handling, but
Oh.
my mom was convinced that God would protect us if we were to ever run across a snake. Yeah, I mean, so we had that level of faith. You know what I mean? Jesus, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Oh.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Where are you? Where you at on social media? Where can I find you?
On Facebook, I am LA Palladino. On Instagram, that I never use, I am Lynette_Palladino. On Twitter, I have it. I don't know what the fuck it is.
Really?
Doesn't
You
matter.
don't use it?
No,
Oh,
I mean, all I use is Facebook. I don't, maybe as comics, like, I find Facebook, first of all, you need to use Facebook
Yeah.
if you're a comic, but I just don't see the need to use the other ones.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm not good with them.
Website?
No.
Get shit together.
So my full name is on Facebook, which is Gabriel Justice Paul Marshall. That's my full name. You can find me on Facebook that way. But everywhere else, you can pretty much find me as Gabe Justice, GabeJustice.com, or _Gabe Justice on Instagram.
Website?
GabeJustice.com.
GabeJustice.com. You get Twitter?
Gabe Marshall. I just never changed it.
Pinterest?
I don't know. I probably, like, used my grandmother's name or something.
I just want to see if you're on my side or not. You Pinterest?
No,
I love
that's
Pinterest.
for chicks.
I love
Yeah.
it. No, it's not.
It's not.
You can find
Absolutely not.
recipes.
I don't know, but you're arguing with her, so I don't know.
But
Pinterest? Raise your hand if you do Pinterest.
not yet. Not yet. Nobody's used Pinterest yet?
No.
Yeah, I use
No,
Pinterest.
I don't like Pinterest.
Oh, Pinterest?
Only other girl in the room, I think.
Yeah, Bill. No?
No.
Why not?
Stupid.
I use Pinterest religiously, and I get followers, and then they ask about shows.
Do you use it for workouts?
For workouts, for clothes, for comedy, for everything.
Even for comedy?
Yeah, for comedy you can post different stuff, jokes and
Oh,
stuff.
that's new to me. I didn't know that.
It's pretty dope. Give it up for them. Thank you. You can find us on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Google Plus. Thank you. Why is that funny? Why is that funny? Nobody uses Google Plus? Damn, fuck it. Look.
We use about 4.
And Blog Talk Radio. Give it up for one more time. Thank you guys. Thank you.